What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please follow my Instagram at RussoLifts, just in case something happens to this YouTube channel. You can follow, message, and you can watch my daily story content on Instagram. I'll see you there. What's up, everyone? It's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. I cannot wait to read the comment section of this video I'm about to do. Please refrain from commenting until you watch the entire video. And yeah, comment with an educated opinion. I will be chirping in the comment section of this video a lot, so I look forward to the discussion below. Please feel free to participate, as well as follow me on my alternative social media, Instagram at RussoLifts, because this channel has been receiving some censorship that I can see in the analytics. So I appreciate everyone who manually goes over to Instagram and follows me for the backup. So let's get started. This is the video I never really wanted to make, but I feel like someone's got to make it, and someone like me has got to make it. And I'm going to word it and orient it negatively, but just know that this is an unbiased video, and I'm all about showing the good and the bad, but this will be oriented negatively because I would like more people to see it. So, age, relation to Sarms and steroids is one of the biggest questions in the DM box I get asked, and the most annoying fucking question I get asked is, Russo, I'm blank age. Is it a good time for me to join the dark side, become enhanced? Now, if you have to DM some random person you don't know on social media, on the internet, to give you the go-ahead, then you're not ready, okay? I never looked for anyone for approval for the choices I personally made. And I've gotten attacked, for years for the type of content I've made, even though it's the truth, even though, this whole fitness industry is built on this shroud of lies that I've tried to document and have gotten censored and have gotten my shit removed unwillingly. And, other people have gone to keep their stuff up where it's the same type of content as mine. The only difference is, the age I was during the time I was making that content. And the suppression of my personality. When you see the old videos, I uploaded old videos of my first documentations of my very first cycles, and they are video documentations just to see what happened to me. Did I make the results? What side effects did I experience? Did I get fucked up in the end? To me, it was all about the most unbiased physique documentation. I'm 23 now. By 25 I plan to have a pretty legitimate physique, and I wanted to have the very start to the very end. And it's a shame that the social media censorship got in the way of that, but that was my original goal. And back in my younger days, I would receive death threats and tons of threats. I would receive publications coming after me, trying to frame me, trying to create the character out of me that they wanted to create. And I discussed that in my documentary I did with ESPN, which I will link below. I will discuss some of the things that went on during that documentary that shows exactly what I was facing with behind the scenes that I never really went on the forefront and talked about until I did that video discussing my dilemma with ESPN. But it led to the ultimate suppression of my personality. When it came to documenting, I never wanted anyone to have I never wanted to create a positive energy, like I was hyping up my PED usage. I never wanted to be stuck as that character. I honestly let my nerd monotone come out even more, and you can see that if you followed my channel for the years, and I appreciate everyone who has followed my channel for the years. But I really kept it unbiased. When you see some of my most viewed videos on this channel, I'm talking like a robot, and people they nicknamed me Robot Russo because I was just a robot giving the positives and the negatives. There was no emotion attached to my age. I didn't want to be the character that, was hyped and happy, quote unquote happy, and it's because of the PEDs, and people are trying to paint this picture of me like I'm trying to get everyone to mimic me. And I knew the type of power I had at that age, and I did not want to be lumped into that category of blindly
you know, shoving people down a road that they might not want to go down. And to me, you know, to get real open with you on this channel and just to open up a bit more, because I have been, and this has helped me in the past. My family, one parent and one sibling suffers from bipolar disorder in my family. Now, I'm not going to go any more specifically with that. Their lives are private, but you know, I have some of those issues, and exercise has always been the way for me to release that energy. And at first I long distance ran, so I would run every day. Sometimes I'd run twice a day, and by around 9th grade I was running 12 miles a day. So for me, that release of energy, it was all about was just regulating my stress, regulating those episodes. So, you know, that was my outlook, that was my output. Some people turn to drugs for that, some people turn to alcohol for that, some people turn to talking to someone about that. Personally, I just like to run it out, or I like to work out, you know, work out the stress. That's my release, that's my therapy. That's always how it's been my entire life. All 23 years I've been here, I've loved to release my stress in that form. Now, when I made the switch from long distance runner to lifting, bodybuilding, whatever you want to call it, you know, I was in the gym 7 days a week, years at a time when I was natural, and I was overtraining natural, and I knew that I was going to be in the gym for the rest of my life. I knew that this was a big part of how I regulated myself mentally. So when it came to PEDs, the gym was going to be my life, and you know, it turns out that fortune was true. I never really got away from the gym. The gym has always been the backbone to release the stress. And for a lot of guys, you know, they don't want to address it that way. Some people are in the gym to build a physique to get girls. Some people are in the gym to lose weight. I don't really care if I lose weight. I don't really care if I gain weight. Fundamentally, I like being in the gym to release the energy, to have 2 hours, an hour and a half in my day where nothing matters besides me going to war with myself and my demons. So that personally, you know, I knew was going to be for the rest of my life. And I knew I was overtraining naturally, and I knew that bodybuilding was something I was very, very passionate about. So when I did that first Sarms cycle, like, I was already training like a crazy man. I was already a 3-sport athlete. I was a 4-sport athlete in middle school. You know, I knew that it was going to pay off down the road, and that was the route I wanted to take, and I understood all the risk and the rewards, obviously. But let me go into, for a general person, why it's not a smart idea to become enhanced in your teenage years and your mid-20 years. And I'll go into a couple scenarios to, you know, talk about the negatives. So first off, especially you youngins, like I said, I've never, ever, all the messages I get, thousands of messages I've gotten over the years, have I said, you know, that's the correct age to start. It is a personal decision. There is no time in a male or female's life where you're going to have super physiological amounts of androgens. There's never a time. There's never a time that occurs. Even at your peak testosterone, I've talked about peak testosterone and peak natural testosterone before, but it is not comparable to a constant super physiological high androgen level. Like I said before, natural test spikes. They spikes in the morning. It's not a stable level, never is. It's all dependent on a bunch of fucking variables, which I've talked about in my blasting and cruising video and cycling video, so you can go check that out and watch that one after. But there's never a time where there's a super physiological constant androgen level. So just pointing that out there to everyone who's like, oh, you gotta wait for this age and for your test to dip. You know, like, there's 1,000 different ways to see when the best time is to jump enhanced, both from a physical perspective, from an opportunist perspective, as well as a mental perspective on the worst time, the best time to enhance. But I will say, we can use the FFMI model, even though it is extremely flawed. But, so you can, I'll use it. The FFMI model of 25, 25 is that natural limit, right? When you're young, you're nowhere near the fat-free mass index of 25. So you should try, Google the FFMI model, research into it. It's a lot more detailed than I'm going to go into this video. But you should try to get to, in my opinion, 23, 24 before deciding to go the enhanced route. Because when you enhance early, number one, if you enhance prematurely, now this is entirely true, but I will say for the most part it's entirely true. You do not know how to train correctly. Again, times have changed with the internet. I think a lot of people are more hyper educated because everyone is becoming AI and becoming connected to the internet and have the ability to learn as much information as they fucking want, and it's all there for free. All you have to do is sit down and inhale it. But you probably don't know how to train correctly. You do not have the financial means to afford to cycle correctly 99% of the time. You might be able to afford the androgens, but can you afford the post-cycle therapy? Can you afford the support supplements and do it completely calculated by the book like I do nowadays? I don't think a young one would be able to afford that and afford to do it correctly, let alone all the hormonal risk. So your natural testosterone peaks, in my personal opinion, around 25. Natural testosterone peaks around 25 for most people. Now this is so variabilistic, but we'll just go with that for this video. So you have a ton of natural testosterone in the younger years to take advantage of, as well as, more importantly, your pituitary is pumping out GH at that time to where you can cause hyperplasia, build new permanent muscle cells, and completely, essentially, change your physique for the rest of your life. That age of 14 to around 19 is so critical to kill yourself, eat as many calories as you can, and to work out as hard as you can, and to strategically recover as fast as you can during that time, because that sets your physique up for the rest of your life. And that's a fact. You can see that with the elite athletes, whatever sport you're looking at. You can for sure know that they were working their ass off during that time. Now, I don't think PEDs, although, and I will play devil's advocate because it is completely fine to be unbiased and I have freedom of speech to say whatever I want. I will, know that there is so much cheating going on nowadays when it comes to high school sports. So much. I talk about it in my What My Parents Thought of When I Went on Gear and all that shit video. You can check that on the channel as well. But there's so much cheating going on. It is not an even playing field, and there are massive rewards if you decide to go that route, but there are also massive consequences, such as permanent fuck up of the HPTA, never, getting to that peak natural test level that you could achieve if you stayed natty, as well as the possibility, like I said, of permanent fuck up of the HPTA, relying on TRT for the rest of your life if you don't want to. Those are the biggest risks. But like I said, you might not even have the money to cycle correctly, just the cycle. The cycle, meaning the PCT, the stuff after to keep your organs cleansing, and the stuff during it, the AI to keep the estrogen from getting out of whack. You might need anti-DHTs if you get hair loss, all this stuff. That's just the cycle. Now you have to look into the real cost of the cycle, which is the caloric intake. So your metabolic rate goes up, your ability with protein synthesis goes through the roof when you go on cycle. So the food, the diet is the most key component when it comes to being enhanced. I see so many people who use quadruple the amount of shit I use. Everyone thinks I abuse the fuck out of everything when my cycles are so minuscule, and they're mostly experiments, right? I never really cycle, a legit cycle. It's more like just a document, because it's a video log documenting what the androgen does and the side effects I experienced and what I overall think of it, comparing it to a different androgen. But it's more about the food, right? People use quadruple the shit I use. They come to me, they're like, why am I not getting results? And it's the diet. It's not the androgens. People think it's the androgens. It's really the consistent caloric intake over the years and daily that yields the results, right? It's a lot like tuning. If you have all these fucking mods, but you're putting in 87 octane versus 93 octane or 104 octane, are you really going to make all the power that those mods could make? No. Is 93 octane more expensive? Is 104 octane more expensive to put in your tuner car? Yes. But you need to be able to put that gas all the time in there. You need to be able to afford that. It's the same thing with enhancement and bodybuilding. So you probably don't have the correct amount of money to even build a cycle correctly and cut no corners, because when you start cutting corners, that's where people come to me with the side effects. And if you just laid out the cycle and did it correctly the first time, you would at least have the combative measures to start combating the side effects, right as they come. But, you didn't think it through. You just went to your buddy in the gym and you got some vials and you started, or you got some pills and you started. So you can't even afford the cycle correctly. You can't afford the diet correctly. The diet is so expensive. When I look at my daily and monthly expenses, especially when I do those logs, it's all on food. And the amount of food I ate to go from 220 to 250 in that injectable SARM log was a shit ton of money. A shit ton of money. And people are commenting, people are smart and commenting, Russo, I don't really care about, what you're documenting as far as the PED. I just want to see your diet, because they're smart enough and they know that the diet is really what got me there. The androgens are just increasing the protein synthesis, causing new hyperplasia in the muscle cells. That's all the cycle's doing. But the fuel of the fire is really what gets you there, and that's the food. So it's a giant cost on the cycle to do it correctly. It's a cost on blood work, so you got to get blood work done. You at least need to get baseline blood work, and then if something's fucked up after, you need to at least pull bloods again. So that's two $300 to $200 panels, plus the cycle, which adds up to a lot of money, plus the constant diet on the cycle, which I assure you will drain your bank account if you actually want to get all the possible results. Then you need to do an enhanced training program, meaning when you go on cycle, you need to train completely different. You need to train way harder to actually get use out of the cycle and get the best possible results for all the risk on your health you're taking. So there's all those things. And then on top of that, your natural testosterone isn't even peaked yet, and you did not hit your FFMI of close to 23, 24. Some people, going to be straight up, everyone's genetics are different, and people do not have the same levels of test as other people, and some people will have low test their entire life, and that will need to be exogenously corrected. And I'm really glad that I'm waking a lot of people up to get their bloods done, and they see that their quality of life may be impaired from their natural testosterone being low, whether that be from the sedentary lifestyle, all the poisonous chemicals, and the estrogen issues with all this processed food going around, and just all the toxins stopping your HPTA from functioning. Like, nothing in this world is natural anymore, if you haven't noticed. Nothing. So you can't expect some people to be affected by the environment and having natural low testosterone. So that needs to be corrected. But for most people, and most people of a young age, you are jumping on too early. Did I jump on too early? Personally, yeah. But did I know that I was going to spend my life in the gym? Did I know that I was overtraining as a natural already? The reason why I started making so much progress was the SARMs was because I could actually recover from my workouts. My muscles weren't being destroyed. They actually had the ability to keep up with the load I was putting them under. That's not most people's issue. Most people aren't in the gym. I'm not bragging about myself either. I'm really not. I just really like to train, and that's mentally where I feel the release. So I was training 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day when I was younger in my high school years. And I was natural, and I was so much stronger because my central nervous system was so accustomed to being hammered. I was constantly in that environment, but my actual muscles could not keep up with rebuilding. I kept crushing them. Without enhancement, they weren't able to recover. I should have taken like 2 to 3 rest days a week, and I would have had a lot more actual lean body mass gains. But, that's the way the cookie crumbled with me personally, and enhancement really helped overall I was already spending a lot of fucking time in the gym, right? I knew the gym was going to be a big part of my life, so I wanted to enhance that. That's like going to the bar and not drinking every time. It's the same thing. So I'll say it that way, but I'll say for most people, you're not even at the level where you need to even be considering a major cycle. Sure, you could dabble with Sarms. Sure, you could go to a TRT clinic, get some pharma grade test, and dabble with that. But these massive cycles people come to me towards, when I look at their physiques, I'm just like, no. And strength, as far as naturally, I think everyone can get to a 315 bench press. I think everyone can get to a 405 deadlift. And I think everyone can get to a 365 pound ass to grass squat naturally. I think those are achievable numbers. I think if you're not near those numbers, then you shouldn't really be dabbling hardcore in enhancement. Like, there's no reason, because when you have virgin muscles, when you first start lifting, your muscles are virgin. That's why, you know, that separation, the density, everyone wants to be jacked and ripped. That comes from, the muscle maturity comes from years of hammering the muscles in the gym. If you think taking some cycles is gonna make your muscles mature rapidly, you're dissing all the people who have trained for 20 years straight to get that physique. If you think it's that easy, then everyone would just hop on cycle and turn into the Hulk, right? After your first cycle is where you get this crazy, you're like, wow, this is so easy when it's in it. After your first cycle, it goes back to, you know, training enhanced. Just this time you can kill yourself further with the enhancement. You're not gonna explode after your first cycle, trust me. Even the best genetic people, after their first cycle, then it's back to the grind, right? You're just on a different level. You're playing with different people with the enhancement. You're no longer a natty, but it's back to the grind. You know, these physiques are not created with a couple cycles, and that's really what my channel was all about, because I knew that, you know. When you look at these big, freaky physiques, people think they're just made in a couple cycles. Not the case. The muscle nuclei is accumulated over the years of being on cycle. The androgen receptor buildup as the muscles get bigger becomes more prevalent, allowing you to saturate more gear over the years, and that is how the physique is created. But having that natural base of muscle, but more importantly, the central nervous system natural base of strength, which is, when you look at my older videos, you see I'm doing central nervous system type training. I'm training for power, I'm training for strength, because if we look at the natural powerlifting community, which has exploded, in my opinion, fitness YouTube went to enhancement, fake natties, all that bullshit. There's very few actual natural bodybuilding channels. Like Omar Isof's one of them. That's what his physique looks like, being completely natural, and he has decent genetics and he's strong as shit. Okay, go look at Omar Isof to get a real good look at what an actual natural bodybuilder looks like. Don't be looking at all these fake natties. These fake natties are doing what I'm doing. I'm just revealing the curtain, and I'm getting death threats, and I'm getting news outlets coming after me, and I've had ESPN try and frame me as this crazy character. But, you know, the fake natties, man, they're enjoying their contracts with Gymshark. They're enjoying all this shit. But they're not natural, okay? They're half natty. You know, maybe they played around with some androgens. Even if they played around with androgens for a while and they got threatened and be like, you need to go back to being natty, you know, they're not comparable to you if you're a lifetime natty, okay? Your muscle cells are permanently matured and changed after your first cycle, in my personal opinion. So take that into consideration as well. But look at a real natural bodybuilding channel. You should be able to get to a physique like that before deciding to dabble with enhancement. But more importantly, like I said, you should have that strength base to fall back on. So right now, I've come basically all the way down to an HRT dosage, and I'm going to throw a video up where I'm still benching 315. I did a triple on a standard bar. So my strength did not go away, and that is from the years of central nervous system conditioning. And like I said, when we look at natural powerlifting YouTube channels, we see that you can get really as strong as you want with central nervous system conditioning. You can get as strong as you want. When you look at the USPAL, You look at Johnny Candido, you look at these elite level natural powerlifters, you know, they're lifting freakish weight, and that is from central nervous system conditioning. But when you look at their overall lean body mass, that's when you see the difference from an enhanced person, and that's how you can pick it out. Now, there are genetic outliers, like people with low myostatin, such as like that Russell Orhe guy. But for the most part, not everyone has that picture perfect genetics to create a physique like that naturally. But like I said, people jump into it too early. People want to take shortcuts. And although it is a shortcut, it actually turns into not a shortcut. Because like I said, if you relied on enhancements, if you rely on going on cycle to get to those strength numbers I mentioned, then when you come off site, like, you're just setting yourself up for failure long term in your bodybuilding lifting career, rather than either doing small, short, tiny little cycles like half natty type stuff to keep yourself. Basically, when you look at my logs, I basically stayed half natty until I was consistently able to hit those numbers off cycle, and then I decided to jump into gear in the full dark side, as you know, I couldn't put on any more lean body mass and needed to utilize hyperplasia of a GH pathway, and I needed the more muscle and nitrogen retention from going the full gear route. But I was able to hit those numbers on and off cycle, and I could still hit those numbers right now as we're speaking on an HRT dosage, which in my opinion is better than a natural dosage, but you get the point, right? You need to build a base, and if you're jumping into it too quickly, and if you're jumping into it with a fuck ton of androgens, all you're really gonna do is fuck up your HBTA and have to deal with all those side effects. It's gonna cost you a ton of money to do a cycle correctly. It's gonna cost you some money, like $200 to $300 a blood panel, to get a snapshot of what's going on the inside of your body, so you can see how bad your personal health was impacted, because everyone is impacted differently by all sorts of things. So there's no real predictive measures other than playing around, seeing what works for you. So you need to have money allotted for that. And the big chunk of change, the big bankroll, the big thing why your bank account will be murdered is the diet, right? So if you have an increase in protein synthesis going on cycle, and you're able to utilize way more nutrients, and your body turns into a machine that needs fuel because these androgen levels are super physiological all of a sudden, if you want to actually get all the results out of the cycle, then you need to have this insane diet plan laid out to actually, you know, get the maximum results, like I said in the beginning of the video. And if you're utilizing it just to gain strength or to get girls or just to build a little muscle, it's a waste of time in my opinion. I think a natural physique is perfect for that. But if you're planning on going the hardcore route, then just know, and I'm gonna do a separate video, that less is more long term, right? The less you utilize to keep creeping forward with linear progression, the more long term, the more options you have to create a more crazy physique, right? The less you utilize to linear progress, the more options you have available later in your linear progression, whether it be your strength is more advanced or your physique is more advanced. You have more options to create a cycle because you didn't already tap out those dosages, right? You didn't start out with 600 milligrams of test, 700 milligrams of tren a week. You know, you can still creep those dosages up if you start very, very conservative with like a Sarms only cycle or a HRT cycle or a TRT cycle. It's about the linear progression long term. That's why bodybuilding is a marathon, not a sprint. Enhanced bodybuilding, in my opinion, natural bodybuilding really ends, in my personal opinion, it's gonna fucking offend people, but it really ends after you hit that plateau, and then you have the option, do I become enhanced? Do I maintain my physique? And by maintain my physique, you really won't gain that much lean body mass. As a complete natty, I'm gonna be fucking honest with you. What's gonna happen is your muscles are gonna mature, you're gonna get that density like everyone, and you're slowly gonna accumulate a tiny bit of tissue over the next 2 decades.